Guys, welcome back. And yeah, thanks for joining me, man. I know it's been a while. Gonna be kind of changing the content on the channel up a little bit. We're gonna be going away from the Clash. I'm not sure 100% going away from Clash. I haven't made that decision yet. But for right now, I'm gonna start working with my PlayStation and doing some Let's Plays on games that I haven't played yet, and some walkthroughs on games that I've kind of 100% completed. We're going to be starting off with Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. So, as you can see, I've beaten Sekiro twice now. One on a regular difficulty setting, the other one I kind of used some of the items in the game in order to make the game a lot more difficult, and I just got done doing that. So I figured, why not start with a game that I'm comfortable with, kind of, kick the rust off on the commentary and stuff like that, and then we'll go from there in the future. So plan is to do Sekiro and then cover all the other, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Demon Souls. Kind of knock those out, do walkthroughs for those before I do a Let's Play, and try to keep the clips at 20-25 minutes a piece, and try to get those done to where we do 100% completion walkthroughs. So without further ado, let's jump in the game. We'll watch all the cutscenes. I have the game in English, even though I played it in Japanese the first couple times. Um, we'll watch the cutscenes. I'll kind of talk you through some of the story so it's not confusing if you haven't played it, or maybe you've played it and don't really understand what the hell is going on, which I think is everyone when they first play. So, if you don't know, on the PlayStation 5, Sekiro runs at a locked 60 FPS, so there's no frame rate drop going on. It makes the combat super smooth, and I mean, you could see the game is beautiful. So even though it's a little bit older, maybe a lot more people have played it, not as interested in it. It's a really solid game, especially if you just picked up a new console. Highly recommend picking up Sekiro. It's one of the most difficult games I've ever played, but also by far one of the most rewarding games I've ever played. That's all she wrote there. So, context, little guy, this guy named Ishin. He's going to be very important to the story later on, but this is kind of showing his founding of his Ashina clan and his rise to power.
Ashina staged a bloody coup and wrested control of the land.
What's the matter, Stray? Nothing left to lose?
So like most games, Sekiro has a pretty slow start. Gonna be getting through the tutorial area pretty quick. I will not be picking up all the items because a lot of the items are kind of, useless once you get comfortable with the game. In the beginning, they're very important. I'll show you guys how to use the items. I'll show you, the best uses for them and stuff like that. But we're not gonna be going through like a
master shinobi.
100% pick up every ceramic shard in the game kind of thing.
Never forget the Shinobi Code.
The Shinobi Code.
As your father, my word is absolute. Your master's is a close second. As of today, he is your master. Defend him with your life. If he is taken, bring him back at any cost. You understand me, don't you, Wolf?
So the Iron Code is going to come into play later on. It's not hugely important. One of the endings, it's very important, but basically the Iron Code works. You obey the father, and then you obey the master. So father comes before master, but no one else is above the master.
Was on the brink of collapse. And the shinobi, known as Wolf, had lost everything. both the man who took him in and the boy he had sworn to protect.
Shinobi, open your eyes. For the sake of your master.
So at the start of the game, Sekiro's in kind of a funk. You don't really understand why, but it will be explained, later on what's going on. Not even Sekiro really understands at this point what happened to him, but yeah, it's gonna become apparent later on what's going on. All right, so I'm not gonna read every tutorial prompt. That'll be kind of up to you if you haven't played the game, but I will kind of talk through, what's going on. So, ornamental letter, a letter thrown into a well. Kuros wolf, your destiny awaits you at the Moonview Tower. Escape from the well and find the tower bathed in moonlight. Even without a blade, you can reach it. Stay silent, stay vigilant. All right, so obviously we don't have a sword. Health is very low right now. Alright, so we're at the Ashino Reservoir. This is going to be a place that we're returning to quite often. Just going to go ahead and sneak along the wall. Alright, so stealth, basically very important for moving throughout the game. Listening in on dialogue just kind of helps you ground yourself.
Not at all. Not only is he unarmed, he has completely lost his will to live. Nothing but a coward, unworthy of our concern.
Alright, so fuck that guy, right? But here you're gonna get your first attempt to eavesdrop. Eavesdropping kind of gives you a backstory on what's going on in a certain area, and a lot of times they'll give you certain hints. They'll drop like subtle hints on, a mini boss or a major boss that's coming up, and ways to make those boss fights a little bit easier. In this particular one, he's just giving you a heads up. Basically saying like, hey, let's see if Genichiro is one of the main characters, but he's the one who's kidnapped the boy you're supposed to be protecting. So, alright, so you're just gonna shimmy across. Alright, so this is the Moonview Tower right here. You're gonna kind of just platform your way through a lot of the game, so follow the prompts basically with the edge of everything, and it'll show you like areas that are climbable and whatnot. Alright, so let's let the dialogue play out.
You did well to come here. It's been too long, Wolf.
I've come to free you, my lord.
Well then. Raise your head.
Alright, so
Kusabimaru, your sword.
just kind of for those that are like, what the hell is going on? That's the
My
divine
shinobi.
heir. You're the shinobi that's supposed to protect them.
In accordance
And
with the bond of
you had
Lord
some
and
stuff going
retainer,
on. I'll get deeper into the story, but
you will pledge your
basically,
life in
he's
my
surprised to
service.
see you.
As you command.
Alright, Kusabimaru, katana given by Kuro, the divine heir, an heirloom of the Harada family, a cadet branch descended from Ashina. Once thought lost, it was found its way back in the hands of the wolf. The name Kusabimaru beseeches a shinobi's role is to kill, but even a shinobi must not forget mercy. A mantra, the blade itself may manifest. Alright, so during key dialogue, I'm going to try to keep the commentary at a minimum. Some of you might be just watching this and never have the intent to play. So, talking to Kuro usually is very important.
Loyal wolf, I see you are wounded. I have something that may help. It is a special gourd of medicinal waters. Use it to heal your wounds.
Alright, so the Healing Gourd, gourd filled with vitality restoring medicine, resting, refills the gourd, made by an apprentice of the extraordinary Dr. Dogen. Though it is strange that the gourd's medicinal waters refill automatically, the seeds within may hold the secret to how it works.
Now then, were you gravely injured? Afterward?
After what?
Do you not remember that night?
I do not.
No. We'll talk about it later. Right now, we must escape Ashina Castle.
As you say.
There's a secret passage beneath the moat bridge that will take us out of the castle. Lord Ishin told me about it once. I ask you to find that secret passage. Once you find it, signal me with a reed whistle. You know, like you used to long ago. I will join you as soon as I hear it. Wolf, do you have something for me?
Alright, so at this point we're going to do nothing because you won't get this dialogue if it's your first time playing.
I leave this in
You
your
only
hands,
get this
then, Wolf.
dialogue when you've already beaten it. So Kuros Charm is basically something that you can give back to Kuro at the very beginning of the game, and it makes the game much more difficult. We're not going to be doing that. I just completed my playthrough with the Charmless run, and I don't want to focus on talking while I'm doing that. Maybe we'll do some fights with it on my
There's
other
a secret
save, but...
passage. Find when I'll come.
Alright, so with all From Software games, you're going to want to make sure you clear all the dialogue. So usually talking to them twice or 3 times, just to exhaust all dialogue options, because if you miss key dialogue at certain points, you will close off some options for some of the endings, okay? So right now what I'm doing is just equipping my 2 healing items. Pellets are basically slow healing gourds that heal you over time, and your healing gourd is like your big heal that replenishes when you rest. So we're going to go ahead and use the gourd right now, and we're going to get into posture and death blows. So this game is very different from most games where it's all about mashing buttons. At first you're going to be very tempted to mash buttons, but the flow of this game goes in a very specific order. So anyway, I'm stealth kill this guy. Basically in Sekiro, you're going to be doing a mixture of offense and defense simultaneously. So every time someone attacks you and you perfect block, which is a deflect, you're going to see like this big slashing feedback on your screen. Basically what that means is that you're building up posture on them. Once their posture is completely full, you'll be able to break their posture and perform a death blow on them. Now with these starter enemies, obviously they're dying in 1 block, but as you get further on, it's going to work like that with mini bosses and with tougher enemies, especially main bosses. So for example, on this guy, he's going to come up. Right when the connection for his swing is about to happen, if you block, you'll get that deflect, right? And that deflect is just signaling that you perfectly blocked it. You took 0 damage and you did a lot of posture damage to him. Now, you can break posture just by mashing buttons, and a lot of times you'll just mash through weaker enemies because it's just quicker. But on mini bosses and stuff like that, it is very punishing to do that. So you're going to want to master this flow of combat. It's a little bit deeper than that. It looks super simple right now, but basically during your fights, you're going to attack. Once you see that they deflected your attack, which you'll get the same feedback, it'll be like a slashing sound on the screen, you need to get ready to start blocking and deflecting. So you can hold block and you won't take any damage unless you're doing a charmless run. But the more times you block without deflecting, the higher your posture builds up, and the enemy can break your posture, which will leave you open to just getting your face smashed in, right? So deflecting is kind of the name of the game. Even with a full posture bar, you can still deflect perfectly and not have your posture broken. So the key to this game is learning to deflect perfectly and learning your timing. So I'll kind of show you an example here. This is the mini boss. And so I deflect, I go on the attack, and boom. So you'll see every time I do a deflect, he is pretty much open for 1 or 2 attacks towards his health. So deflect, attack, I missed that one. So the game is trying to show you that there's a rhythm to it with these bosses, especially the early bosses. There's a rhythm that they want you to follow, and it's basically attack, deflect, attack, deflect, attack, deflect. If you do that throughout most of the game, you'll have no problem with any of the bosses. Now, obviously, a lot of the bosses have more moves than just the slash slash. Some of them are going to be doing jumping attacks. Some of them are going to be doing thrusting attacks, and there's specific counters that you have to learn in order to master those. But for the most part, learning to deflect and the timings will make you very successful in this game. It looks simple. I've been playing the hell out of this game for a while. And I did when you don't, in the very beginning when I said you won't have that dialogue option, when you give the charm back to Kuro, basically if you don't perfectly deflect every attack, you'll take a little bit of damage, and basically as you take damage you run out of healing if you don't perfectly deflect, because obviously you have to heal that damage back up. And then the enemies that you fight will have, you know, I think it's 20% or 40% higher health and posture, and then you'll have less health and less posture, and you'll take more damage. So deflecting perfectly is kind of a requirement when you make a playthrough like that. So I'm pretty good at deflecting, and not doing a charmless run,
You found it.
blocking kind of helps make it simpler.
Now let us leave this place.
Basically, when you're using the charm, you don't really have the option to block more than, you know, 1 or 2 attacks, because the bosses will kill you even through blocking. So
To run from the fated bloodline.
it's very fun, very rewarding, especially when you beat the final boss. But it's
Where shall
also
we go
very,
once we're away
just
from
make
the
sure you have
castle?
a
I
cover
suppose the
over your
first thing
controller
we should
before you do that.
Cross the Ashino border. Or perhaps we should hide somewhere.
So for those who've never
What
played
do
the
you think?
Soulsborne game,
Whatever you
these
desire.
Soulsborne games, the
Whatever I
stories
desire,
are generally told through
that's
item
what we'll find out.
descriptions and
My
just
lord.
world environment.
Nothing.
But
I was just reminiscing.
in
On
Sekiro,
with
it's
them.
more cinematic. So your character has a lot of interactions with other characters. Basically, what's going on now is Kuro was kidnapped, and we are trying to get him out of Ashina. And as we escape right here, we notice that there's a guy at the top of this hill. And this is going to be the Genichiro character that we heard during the eavesdrop. We'll kind of let this cutscene play out.
The divine heir.
Last we stood together was your uncle's funeral.
Lord Genichiro. Thank you.
Leave this to me.
So the noble Shinobi stands in our way.
Alright, so Genichiro is a boss that we'll be seeing multiple times throughout the story. You are not intended to kill him right here. And unless you have beaten the game and you have some of the items, it's best to just kind of let him do his thing, because the end result always is exactly that right there. So we'll be seeing him again, and he's a lot more manageable as you have some of your upgrades and stuff. But you can defeat him in this opening battle, but it doesn't change the outcome. So just for this purposes, I'm not going to try to
Is that all
play
Shinobi has
perfectly
to offer?
to just get to the same endpoint, you know?
The divine heir will be coming with me.
So he's gonna re-kidnap Kuro. And Genichiro, you're gonna end up realizing had good intentions. He just had a really bad idea for how to solve these problems, right? So as the story unfolds, you'll realize that Genichiro is kind of trying his best to be a leader, and he just does some pretty messed up things in order to accomplish that. All right, so this is going to be introducing another very important character. He's going to be named the Sculptor. He's going to be something like a mentor slash upgrade hub for Sekiro throughout his entire playthrough. So the Sculptor, you'll notice he's missing an arm, much like Sekiro. We'll get into that when he tells us about it, and I'll explain kind of his backstory and why it's important later on in the game. But he has given you a prosthetic arm to replace the one you just lost. And this is going to be like your upgradable item throughout the game.
So you're awake. Looks like death is not your fate. Just yet.
You also notice he's extremely hairy. While it doesn't seem like it's going to be important, lots of things in these Soulsborne games are important to realize. So, Shinobi prosthetic, the artificial arm of a shinobi passed down by the sculptor, a replica of a human arm fitted with a variety of mechanisms, apparently designed with modifications in mind. While it bears a number of cuts and is stained thick with blood and oil, it has been impeccably maintained. So, basically, the sculptor isn't always been the sculptor. It's kind of like a replaceable position.
Your eyes, the eyes of a wolf who has failed in his duties. Or so it seems to me.
That is not your concern.
Spoken like a true shinobi. I must carve the Buddha. You do what you will.
Alright, so again, you want to make sure you exhaust all dialogue opportunities in this game, especially just to understand, but also to make sure you keep up with the endings.
Let you get eaten by a pack of wild dogs.
How long was I asleep?
Some time has passed since I found you.
I see.
However, your master yet lives. He's being held prisoner in Ashina Castle. They will soon make use of his bloodline. Looking at you, I'm sure you appreciate the value it has.
My left arm. What did you do to me?
He's going to explain about the prosthetic arm.
The Shinobi prosthetic. A fitting fang for a one-armed wolf.
We'll just get to this dialogue and then we'll move on to the beginning area
You can have it.
in the next episode.
Prosthetic.
It is no mere replacement for your lost arm. Come to me if you find any shinobi tools.
Shinobi tools. I see. For this device.
You catch on quick. If you bring me shinobi tools, I'll find a way to fit them to the shinobi prosthetic. Then you'll come to appreciate its worth. I've said too much.
So throughout the game, you're going to find different designs for the prosthetic tools, and you bring them back to him. He'll kind of outfit it for you, and we'll get to that, later on. But prosthetic tools kind of work in a way to make bosses easier. They're kind of like a key. Every boss is kind of like locked behind a certain moveset, and then some prosthetic tools make it easier to deal with. Alright, so the Divine Heir's blood, basically the Divine Heir is an immortal being, cannot be harmed or killed by anyone, and he can bestow the power of resurrection on, pretty much anybody at his choosing. Genichiro is attempting to use that power in order to defend Ashina, and that's why he's kidnapped Kuro. Okay, so this is kind of like your starting hub area. Matter of fact, there's something on the back side of the building. You can't sprint in here, which is super annoying, but... Alright, light coin purse. A purse filled with a small amount of sen. It can be used to acquire the sen inside. Has somewhat satisfying weight to it. The sen in this purse is not lost upon death. So that last sentence is very important, right? In Sekiro and all Souls games, generally when you die, you lose, you get punished for it. So in Sekiro, you lose half of your money and half of your experience. You cannot get it back. However, if you say you have 500 sen, you can buy coin purses. So it gives you 100 sen, but it costs 110. So basically, at the cost of 10 sen, you can protect your money from being lost.
Never seen you before. Your name?
This guy isn't hugely
Won't tell
important
me.
unless you really want
What
to
do you do
practice,
with the
but we're
locally
going to just
skilled
make sure to
Shinobi?
show everything.
A Shinobi.
He's an undying
perhaps.
or infested, which he's about to get into,
Sir, please
and
heed my
you can
humble
use him
request.
to practice,
Face me in battle.
different moves and stuff. So again, deflect, attack. These early, enemies and stuff are kind of a joke.
Damn. Still alive.
So he's undying, which means every time you kill him, he'll, raise himself back up. So he's a good training dummy to kind of
That
work stuff out on.
swordsmanship. It was a thing to behold. Few have managed to kill me in such a thorough manner. What are you? Some call it undying. Others, infested. I can't die, so I just am. How about you? What brings you to a rundown temple like this? Seems you have a lot on your mind. Say, why don't you
The
use me for some
infested
sword
/
practice?
undying
Might come in
is going to
handy
come
for
important
whatever
when we get to some of the
mission
other
is.
areas in the
A
game.
warm body that can't
But
die might prove useful to
he's
you.
not the only undying in this game,
I
and we're going to have to
volunteer
find a
mine.
way
Well,
to defeat those.
very well.
So we're going to accept his
Right
help.
then, they say swinging one sword is a cure for boredom.
All right, cool. So you can do training here, or you can
Have
talk,
you
right?
noticed? This temple attracts those with nowhere else to go. I certainly fit that description. And I suppose that's why interesting things make their way into the offering box from time to time.
All right, cool. So if you want to ever practice, if you get stuck on a boss or anything like that, and he has a certain move that you want to
Come
figure out how to
back
counter,
whenever you like.
this
If you
is a
have
good place to
techniques
get that
try
without
out,
losing any of
I'm
your
at your
sen or your
disposal.
experience, because there's nothing worse than losing, saved a whole bunch of saved up money and all that. All right, so we're gonna get to the first sculpture here. I'll take you through like a little tutorial on how to use it, but for right now, all we have is the rest option, and when you rest, it resets your healing, kind of resets the world, it respawns all the enemies, and you can go through and rest to reset stuff if you want to farm, yada yada yada. But we're gonna go ahead and use this as a stopping point leading into the next episode. The next episode will be a lot more action. This one was kind of dialogue heavy, but starting a new game, it kind of happens. But if you like the content, looking forward to seeing some more, go ahead and drop a like, comment, share with your friends, and let me know how I'm doing. This is my first dive into walkthroughs or anything like that, so I'm looking forward to getting some experience in it. All right, catch you in the next episode. Peace.